I know we've got a lot to cover and some people might be coming in as we go along, but just to set expectations, what I'm going to do is share a video that I saw last Friday that really the synapses started firing. I had been introduced to ChatGPT. So early, I keep calling it the wrong thing. I'm spelling it wrong, but I'm using it. But and I'll share with you, there's an agent that joined EXP a few months ago who comes from a tech background. And he's been teaching for free and he has this wonderful resource. I've just been power packing my site with what I'm learning from him. And his name's Anthony Robinson Duran, and I'll share with you his resource. Highly recommend. He's been putting together his trainings into a portal that people can access, anytime, because like John's schedule is challenging, Sonia's and Andre has a challenge. Not everybody can make certain training times, right? So I've been using both his live training and his portal and continually to power pack, unpack, and relearn some things that I thought I knew. But at any rate, there was a webinar. Michael LaFido is a luxury leader and actually teaches a luxury designation. I first heard him at Family Reunion in 2019. And then he was at EXPCon in October. I love him. He's so down to earth. He's out of Chicago area and really cutting edge on marketing. Like back in 2019, he was sharing the cinematic type videos he was doing for his listings, $10 million properties and so on. But he's so approachable and so down to earth and encouraging to agents to get into luxury. Like you don't have to be, live a luxury lifestyle to sell luxury. At any rate, he hosts a podcast on Fridays and he hosted one this last Friday. And this was the topic. So I want to share some clips from that to give you kind of a high level overview, because I was introduced to ChatGPT and I was thinking about it more simply from keyword research. But what the gentleman that he had as his guest, I was like, whoa, opened up a whole portal in my thinking and recognized what a point in time we're in. I'll share with you also a little bit of framework from my point of view and then my perspective from having taught myself how to use a computer on DOS, believe it or not, to some pivotal changes. And I believe we are in one of those times right now, but I'll just go ahead and share the screen now. Hi, Crystal. Crystal's in Hawaii, so she's 5 hours behind us. The sun is still shining there, right?
Well, it's a little cloudy, but yes, basically.
Nice. So let me just get our screen share going here.
The description.
Can you hear it now?
When we went live,
Yes.
for those of you that saw the description ahead of time, what AI and ChatGPT. So let's start at a very softball entry level. First time anybody's hearing what ChatGPT is in a very simplistic explanation. How would you answer that, Blake?
Yeah, it's a question I get asked a lot. But let me start here. For all your viewers and listeners, buckle up your seatbelts, folks. Buckle up, take a seat. If you're listening to this, you're standing up, moving around. If you're driving, pull over, because we're about to talk about probably in my 17-year career in this industry, I have never seen something like the tool we're about to talk about today. When I first saw what it had the capability of doing, I said, this is not going to change the real estate industry. This is going to change the world as we know it. And just earlier, I did a whole presentation, 90-minute overview. I mean, it was one-on-one. It was the basics. Most people had never even been through Chatty or experimented with it. By the time I was done, I knew what was going to happen. It's exactly it. Some people were fearful out of their mind. Some people were sick to their stomach. But what I reminded them, and I'm going to remind all your listeners and viewers right now, everything we're about to go over, you've got two choices. You get in front of it and you grow your business exponentially. You supercharge your business, or there's a high likelihood you're going to die, simply because this is increasing the top performers' efficiency, productivity, sales, profit, you name it. And you're going to see, you know, we always talk about this in US politics, right? You know, the separation of the middle class, there's the rich, and then there's the poor. That's exactly what this tool is going to do. My prediction is it is going to separate the real estate industry. Now, what is it, right? What is it? I'm not a techie person whatsoever. I don't write code. I don't, develop websites and do this stuff. I'm a real estate guy. I build real estate businesses and help others do that. So I'm going to break this down as simply as I possibly can for your viewers and listeners, because they're real estate people, just like me and you. Imagine it's a two-way chat communication. But imagine you're talking to a robot with a massive brain on the other side. You don't have to break down every question. It gets smarter based on the questioning you ask. Imagine going to a search engine and typing in a question and not having to decipher through different websites. Imagine the search engine just gives you the answer to your question, right? It is a robot with a giant brain. That's all I can say. It is a program that you go to, you ask it any question. Now, I'm going to highlight that in a moment, the questioning or prompting phase. But you ask it any question that you want, and it will go, and it has every resource on the internet. Everything that's on the internet, it knows. And it has it at its immediate disposal to disperse the answer to your question. Anything from real estate, business, to gluten-free vegan chocolate chip cookies in less than 10 minutes, right? It has the answers. So it is just it's a marketing assistant, it's a personal assistant, whatever you want to call it. It is the know-all be-all, and it is a giant brain on the other side of the computer.
Yeah, that's a great explanation of it. I do appreciate that. And again, those of you that are watching the live stream, again, you can type in your questions in the comments section. You guys don't have to download anything, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Type in your questions for me or Blake, and those have been a comment there, or like the way you explained that, Blake, that was very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are watching and listening, just think about that old Will Smith movie, right? That Will Smith movie where iRobot. And here comes the robot out to service and help its owner at that time, and pretty much can answer any question. The freaky thing is, Michael, we're here, right? That thing exists, maybe not in physical form yet, but on your computer, it exists. And that's what this is. This is a tool to accelerate and supercharge your, not only your business, but your life. It exists, and it is absolutely phenomenal. It is amazing. I'm so excited about it.
So let's talk about some ways that agents, right? So I try to keep it really simple. And so our audience are individual agents, broker owners, team leaders. And so let's talk about some ways that you're seeing, because it's been out for a few months now. I think it was released maybe in November of 2022. But really starting to get traction over, every day, every week, I'm seeing more and more, right? It's called the reticulator activator, right? Remember that part of your brain that remembers certain things? So once you see ChatGPT, like, you can't unsee it, right? But you also, start to see more and more of it. So from a basic level, I mean, you can, you can get property descriptions. Some agents have a tough time struggling with, how do I write a description for this home that's never been listed, right? So you can literally type in, and I have on my screen just something very basic. This is one of those examples, but this would be just a screenshot. And I know it's tough to read it, but write a property description for this 5-bedroom, 3-bath home for sale at, and then you put the address. It's got a fenced in yard, and you put in as much information as possible. You can put in ChatGPT to, who your audience is. My audience is a sophisticated buyer. And then it will use more sophisticated language. I mean, you can have fun with something. I have a friend that's a Purdue basketball fan, and he said, describe this year's Purdue basketball team in the voice of Donald Trump. And so then, was describing the basketball team, saying they're great, all this stuff, right? So you can have fun with it, but let's talk a little bit about, this is an example of a description, but but let's talk about, besides property descriptions, what are some other ways, Blake, that you're seeing? Well, before we go to other ways, let's start with property descriptions. What are you seeing as far as do's, don'ts, and best practices?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, Michael. When it comes to, by the way, listing descriptions, and I'm going to tell you that one word will change your answer when prompting Chatty. So hear me, folks. This system is only as good as the person utilizing the system, meaning it's only as good as the questions we ask and the prompts that we give it. Just by what you saw Michael do, saying, hey, a property description, if I replace that word with listing description, it instantly will change the output. It will take it from Michael's one paragraph and make 3 paragraphs based on the property. This technology is going out and taking information from anything online about that property. And to your point, if nothing exists, it's going to highlight and accentuate the short description you provided about it. The more information you give it, the more it will do for you. But Michael, I've taken it and I actually did this earlier in training. I put it in there and I have a recorded video of this for agents. And if any agent wants, I'm going to tell them how they can get it later. But I said, a listing description about 860 Passiflora. It's 4-bed, 3-bath, has an ocean view. It's near Encinitas Ranch Golf Course, quiet street, right in a cul-de-sac. And I said, create a listing description. Boom, 3 paragraphs long. Perfect for it. But here's the thing, the difference between a property description and a listing description. See, I have a team of experts who have all just been going through this. Not only my team at Corey Home Team, but I have another team that has been just exploring the prompts and going through ifs and what ifs and then try this. So earlier today, I was able to show agents in under 5 minutes how we created a listing description for the property. Once it was perfect, because I even said, after it created it, I said, now do it in a Californian tone, a tone based on people from California. We speak differently, right? Texas people, they speak differently. Midwesterns speak differently. New Yorkers speak differently. Do it in a California tone, semi-casual and semi-young, because my audience group in the suburbs right now, where we sell houses, is 30 to 45 years old, right? So it did it. And,
Wow.
and it instantly did it. It was perfect, right? It was perfect. But then we took it a step further. Great. Now I asked it, now, where are other places that I can run ads to attract buyers? And it gave me a list. And in that list, it said social media. Social media was the number 3 checklist. Guess what I did? I wrote, tell me more about number 3. I didn't even need to say social media. It knew what I was saying because we're having a 2-way conversation. Like, this is the brain side of it. So I said, tell me more about number 3. It did talk to me about Facebook and this and that and the next. Okay. So I said, great, write me a Facebook post, include emojis and trending hashtags. It did it. And it was done. And it took it from the description above and it created that post. And then I said, now create a Facebook marketplace post. It did it. Now create a 1-minute Facebook live script. It did it. Now create a 2-minute YouTube script. It did it.
Wow.
Now create a blast email to send to my database. I have a relationship with these people. Keep it in a Californian tone, under 400 words. Done. So in the matter of less than
And when
5
you say done, like I've done similar, right? And it's literally like a send button, and like literally, I'll show everybody just that they're not familiar with it, but you know, this is where. Oh, sorry, here that's messed up there. Well, I'm going to stop sharing because for whatever reason it's not.
Very good.
Yeah, but the point is literally you can. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to take your comment on here. Like literally, you would type that in here. You know, tell me, and you type this in, and you'd hit this little send button right here, and boom, within 30 seconds of those prompts that you just described it, or less, right, Blake? It's spitting out those answers.
Yep, it's spitting out those answers immediately. Like I said, it's all based on the person asking the questions. We are finding right now, our studies are showing that 90% of realtors are going in, typing a question, getting an answer, and then ending. They're not continuing the conversation. And whether it's what they're looking for or not, the realtors are not asking second, third, fourth level questioning, second, third, fourth level refinement. They're not condensing, they're not expanding. I mean, it's mind blowing. See, and that's why I say it's as good as the person asking the prompts.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, so you had some really great questions there. I like to speak as if I'm talking to, somebody in this demographic. I'm a little afraid if I had them write a listing description in a Chicago tone, it would sound like Mike Ditka.
Mike Ditka,
Mike
yeah.
Ditka, a Polish sausage. No, in all seriousness, that's very interesting. And I wonder, have you played around with language, right? So Chicago's a melting pot. So, now write the description, listing description in Spanish, now write it in Polish, or whatever.
It will do that. It usually does start the statement of my Spanish is not that good. The funny part is it says it in Spanish. So it actually starts with, and they let you know, because just like English, there's so much slang terminology used.
Yeah.
Proper versus slang is a little bit different, but yes, it will write it in other languages, which is amazing. And to your point, melting pot, you talk about Spanish, Polish, Russian, different languages in different marketplaces. It will absolutely do that.
Wow. That's now, one of the things I've been seeing too, though, is, I tell people, just like Michael Jordan once says, you don't talk politics. Well, ChatGPT does have some leanings politically based on what I'm seeing. Some people, hey, type me a description on Joe Biden or Donald Trump, and they're not real
estate practice. Most people know inside of real estate, there's prospecting dialing, right? A lot of us have done it. Cold calling, calling expireds, calling FSBOs, calling people like that. But we use it actually in our business to refine the scripting that our inside sales department uses. That's one beginner level way. So I showed agents earlier today that you can actually go in there and just type, create me a script to make outbound calls to expired listings with the philosophies of Mike Ferry. Done. 30 seconds later, Mike Ferry, done. I showed them earlier, there was a guy back in the day, Joshua Smith, used to do mega open houses. You can ask Chatty for the framework of his mega open houses and then ask it to go into depth on how to do it. Done. Because this information's out online already. This supercomputer, this brain has collected all this data. So now you're going, before this script for Mike Ferry was behind closed doors, unless it was on the black market and distributed to people in the office. Now I just go ask it to create it. And then, so about playing around with this about 2.5 months ago in my office, 3 months ago, I said, all right, create me a script, expired listings, So did. I said, okay, the value proposition that we have is we have a database full of buyers. We possibly already have a buyer for your home. Add that as the value proposition, and it redid it. Done. Okay, great. We got the script after about 2 minutes, perfect to what we felt was the optimal script to go out and call expired listings, because they're becoming more popular in our marketplace again with the market shift. I asked it to then create a 5-day email sequence based on that script. Done. Create a 3-day text message sequence. Done. And then I asked it to direct me to the software that could help me integrate everything to automate our expired listing system. Within 24 hours, Michael, we not only found the company that'll make the outbound dials with the scripting that we can provide them, but we automated the email, text message, and direct mail follow-up sequence, where now we actually don't do anything. The end result are people being put onto the calendar of my lead listing agent to go out and meet with about the sale of their home. Chatty helped us automate the whole thing in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
It was unbelievable, because now even the data that comes in, the data integrates, it's distributed to these companies. This direct mail starts, and Chatty wrote the direct mail. This over here happens. Outbound calls are being made, email sequences are being followed up with AI. What a normal agent does, manually picking up the phone, we can do automatically and do it at the highest level.
So, I'm a big Dan S. Kennedy guy, direct response marketer, right? So
No
what I
BS,
hear you
man.
saying
No
is,
BS.
yeah, exactly, right? So what I hear you saying is I could say, write me a description of this property, or write me a description on this postcard that's 100 words or less in a direct response call to action, something that you'd see in Dan Kennedy's whatever book. And if there's information online,
Okay, let me come back here for a second. Pretty amazing, right? Hey, Scott, glad you could join us tonight. So I'm going to share, if you want, I'm not going to share all the links in the chat tonight, but I do have all the links queued up to just send you guys. If you would just do me a favor and, shoot me your email and I'll send you back the links so you can watch the entire video. But that, and the rest of it's really good. And Blake has this thing, his thing is grow or die. And that really resonated with me. I really do believe we are in a point in time that, the clarity that came watching that, taking in information from the trainings I'm going through, we are at a pivotal point in time. So if you bear with me 1 second, I know it's late. I'm going to give you some bullet point highlights of my background and some points in times that I've lived through that are like this, like where we are right now, my perspective, and I'm certainly open to discuss it. Now, I'm old enough that, I'm going to age myself here. I learned, I taught myself computers on DOS. I used to work in C-suite of Fortune 100 companies and as an executive assistant to some very powerful executives in various different industries, including investment banking, scientific startup, commercial real estate. I could type 120 words a minute on DOS. I was really excited. I did work from home before it was like a thing, just because my boss's schedule's like 14 hours a day and I had a young daughter. With my little modem, upgrading to 486, guys, I got a 14K modem instead of a 7K modem. So that's just a little backstory. In the early 90s, when the internet started being, Andre, this is like ancient history for you, so bear with me a second. There was a time when we didn't have internet. And then we did, and it was all through dial-up, which is what I'm talking about. You probably don't even know what a modem is, but we had to connect to the phone line to connect to the internet. And then the internet exploded in the early 90s. That's when Google came out. That's when some of these firms started. I was working in software in San Francisco at the time, lots of startups happening. However, the company that I worked for was a mainframe-based enterprise system developer and with unique software built on COBOL. That's like a dinosaur language. I don't know anybody that works with COBOL programming today, but at the time it was cutting edge, very successful company. Working with clients like Bank of America. It was accounting software, so the security of the mainframe was very attractive to Fortune 100 companies and financial institutions. And as Windows rolled out, Windows 95, I went through freaking out on trying to learn a mouse, trying to learn Windows, going through major shifts. But I'll never forget, our CEO was in the hallway of our company, and he said, so I'll never forget, he says, oh, the internet's a fad. This is like 92, maybe 93. Well, that where that company is out of business. So I say that to say, we have to be very careful who we listen to, because there are leaders who have been very successful in the past. And it's uncomfortable to make change, especially when you're at that level. However, nobody's using COBOL, nobody's using the mainframe in their business. Nobody's, we adopted Windows 95. I learned how to use a Mac. It was very, very awkward and frustrating to learn new technology when I felt so proficient in another. But what are you going to do? You grow or you die, right? That was a grow or die moment. That company decided to not grow and it died, right? They underestimated the competition, they underestimated the internet, they underestimated the impact of Windows, and held on to their past success. And I see a lot of companies in real estate doing the same thing, or people. And it won't be just real estate. So that was one pivot. Then fast forward, I think it was 2005 when the first iPhone came out. I know I started my real estate career in 2004 with a Nokia brick, the kind with a little antenna you pull out, for a cell phone. But smartphones radically changed our lives, that was a point in time. And then 2008, when President Obama was elected, and it was like a huge epiphany for me personally, because he used social media. And it at that time was, yes, that's about the time that YouTube started. Social media wasn't common for business. My daughter brought me onto Facebook from MySpace. Initially I didn't even have a website, but 2008 was a pivot point. I leaned into social media thinking if it can elect a president, it can work for real estate. At the time, that sounded very strange, and most of my peers were not doing that. Now that's hard to believe, it's hard to understand. But that was a pivot in time. And then shortly after that, you started seeing Facebook and Twitter everywhere with business. Every newscast has their ID up there. It didn't used to be that way. And then fast forward to 2015-ish. And I know I knew James Rembert when he was a realtor in New Jersey, and he had an epiphany about Facebook ads, and he really launched. He's become Zillow killer. He's become a mega success, billionaire, I think he is now. But using Facebook ads, like it was referenced with the smart intelligence, using the algorithms and intelligence behind Facebook to do geo-targeted ads and to target interests and things like that. Now, it's very powerful for real estate because you could target people, like he was talking about, certain demographics. And that was amazing for several years until they put the algorithms to stop that because of fear of, not being compliant with fair housing. But 2016 president election, another president election, I saw a newscast on 2020 where they interviewed the Facebook consultant who worked with Donald Trump on his campaign. And come to find out, Facebook offered free consultants to both campaigns, to both Hillary and Donald. Hillary turned them down. Donald used them. And what he did was he took, like we do for real estate, or what James was teaching for real estate, you take one message and you do the ABC testing, and you change the color, you change the tone, like they're talking about, targeting, the farmers in Utah, targeting the city dwellers, targeting the different demographics in visually and in language that resonates for them. And that's where Donald, like in Pennsylvania, we were a Keystone state on that election. Hillary did not connect with people in rural Pennsylvania at all. And that's kind of where she lost, where Donald used this Facebook strategy. Maybe he would have won without it. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about politics, but when I saw that report, that was, and that's when I leaned in and tried to get my group to start really using this smart marketing for our sellers, to do targeted Facebook ads. And we could do that for a while until that was limited. And James even says now, he said in his coaching, think of social media as distribution channels. And I say that because we'll circle back to where we are now. So I see this point in time with Chatty, I'll just say Chatty like Michael does, as one of those pivotal times. There are a lot of people who are dismissing ChatGPT. They haven't leaned into it. They're thinking it's the AI, Autobot. No, when we're able to use this kind of smart intelligence and create workflow, and what I'm learning from Anthony, I'll show you for a second, I'll poke around in what he teaches and also how you can implement that with kvCore. But as he described, the things that Brad's talking about with the whole team, we can do in kvCore. Because when we can create workflow, we can create intelligent conversations and responses. But the idea is, what I'm seeing is, if we're not providing information in a way that people want to see it and need to see it in a language that they want to hear it in, they're going to go elsewhere. this is a game changer, right? And what I'm seeing, even like John in your sphere, I've had clients who are friends and relatives that have realtors, right? But they're this, you know, how many times have you talked to somebody? John, I even think we went through that when we first met, when you're buying a home. I mean, I felt like, you know, we'd go over information, then you would come to me and say, well, I saw on Google, right? Every buyer does that. And so we run the risk of losing credibility. We run the risk of being kind of replaceable, because if that intelligent service and information can be provided through automation, that human voice can be provided and accessed, and people can get, you know, one of the reasons I've designed my business like an executive assistant, to give people information before they ask for it, you know, to forward think their process, to lay out what to expect and then have it there. Well, people generally like that, you know, and it also puts us not in a passive role, waiting for somebody to ask a question. You know, you forward think, you provide the information, it removes obstacles, it removes objections, it helps automate your process, like John, like we were talking about, higher volume, less stress, and a personal touch. But the reality is, not just with our business, but with all of business, is like, if we don't adopt this type of technical platform to meet and serve our clients in the way that they want to receive information, then we become irrelevant. Yeah, just kind of like they used to have real estate. You had to have a realtor because they didn't, you couldn't go on Zillow and find homes, right? You know, so we have to constantly be in line with where our clients are, where the consumers are. And so I do see this as a pivotal point in time. Before I share a screen and just show you some quick pokes, because I don't want to go too long. Anybody want to chat about what we've been talking, talk about what we've been talking about? Or let me show you some stuff. This may be brand new. You know, I've been geeking out, redoing my website and everything. So I've been spending time on this, just getting and I discovered Anthony. So to give you a view, this is Anthony's training, and I'll give you the link. He does live sessions, but he records everything. It's right here. And you can, you know, it's just one bite. For me, it's one bite at a time. He teach on ChatGPT. I've been implementing things one thing at a time. And then the light bulbs start going off and I start connecting things. But here's ChatGPT. Now, a couple things. It is free. However, sometimes it's busy and it won't respond for a while, because and more people use it. I upgraded to Plus, which is $20 a month, partly to have more access. So I did today, I was working on my Rittenhouse Square. What are the top 3 things people love about Rittenhouse Square? And it gave me some content. Now, one of the things that Anthony, one of the tips, he said, pro tips is, if you give ChatGPT some feedback, like I gave it a thumbs up, and then it's going to ask for what would make it better. They will prioritize you without paying the $20. You'll be prioritized as a contributor. So that's just a little flash on, and it does save some of the other things. Like I wrote a blog article about home inspections. This is how I was using it, just looking at keywords, looking at this. And then I watched that video, the interview that we just watched part of together. And oh my goodness, I recognize it's way more than that. So there are a couple things when you copy, you know, and I'm not here to train. Like I said, you have a lot of training available, but on the back end of kvCore, and I know kvCore is a lot to learn. For those of us at EXP, let me put this back on where we can see each other a little bit. I kind of think of it like it's a different tech. I'm used to WordPress, and so it was a little awkward for me to learn it, kvCore, and I had to lean in and get over my awkwardness. And then I was thinking about, you know me, I see things like a screenplay. I was like, it's kind of like a buyer buys a home and there's a free Ferrari in the garage, but you don't know how to use stick shift, right? So kvCore is kind of like that for us at EXP. We get it free, but you have to learn how to drive it, right? So one of the first things that Anthony helped me understand and unpack, let me see if I can switch this around. You know, we do the service areas, and those of us that unfortunately paid for these generic setups, you know, we have the service areas here. I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to minimize this. Now, what I didn't know and realize was here we have the opportunity for keywords, and you can customize it. So now I haven't done all of them, obviously, but I've been doing massive keyword research and power packing the keywords on the back end. And his training goes through that. So the way that I work on, I'm just going to give you a flash on the page text. Let me show you what it looks like. Here, I just finished redoing Rittenhouse Square. And then I'll show you a glimpse of how you can do it. So, sorry, it's a little loud. I will share with you the video software I use for this, but I have things linked up. I did some more research and links and using things, and then it goes to the standard page. And then, you know, for me on the main line, I'm focused on the main line. I put a drop-down menu redirecting here because I want to capture people. And I'm not sure that they'll go to the bottom of the page. And it also, those pages give me additional opportunities for keywords and optimization. So I build out a little content, and then it goes to like, this is the standard page that they provide, which I love because it gives you the listings, it gives you stats. However, you do have this intro here that you can build out and add to your, that'll add to your SEO optimization. You can power pack some keywords, do some ChatGPT research. That's this right here, page text. Okay. So you don't have to be like a super HTML pro. It helps to know a little bit. And I have a video I'll share you, you know, where I'm teaching like the very basics of HTML. But for instance, here, I just use a blog as like a whiteboard. You know, so I edit what I want to share on a blog post. This is for my Bluebell guide. I'm not going to publish this. This is just like a, you know, guide draft. The key is, you know, going to the HTML, and then you just, after it's already put together, you just copy all the HTML. And then back here in the, when I go to the guide, the actual guide, the service area, right? Then this is where I just, okay, Bluebell. I'll just take this all out and we'll redo it. And then I just paste the HTML code and save it. So I don't have to code in HTML. I can write it in a blog and then just switch as like a piece of paper, and then switch to the HTML and copy it in. Now, let's see if it came through. Oh, it hasn't posted yet. Okay, I'll have to fix that later. But that's the basics of how that works. And anytime you get into this kind of stuff, you have to have a little patience. But this training is amazing. I think I shared with you guys, I was listening to his training while I was working out, and I had to keep getting off my bike because I was jumping off to implement things. But so the power pack, the SEO, with the research you do, you can do it here on your service areas. You can do it in your custom pages. You can do it on your blog posts. And that's something I did not realize for so long. So these custom pages are unlimited what you can do with custom pages. And okay, so at a very high level, that's my introduction. I would say it's something to definitely embrace and be willing to feel. Again, I flashback, I forget these things, but I was so frustrated with using a mouse. It made me feel so weird. I kept losing files. I was used to DOS. I'm like dragging stuff like, how does this work? So, as having gone through many different shifts with technology, it's okay to be awkward and it's okay for it to be uncomfortable. But we have to move with the times. Nobody's using the Nokia brick. Nobody's using mainframes. Nobody's using those green screens. We're not using those monitors that look like a microwave. We're not using phones that aren't smart. We're not using dial-up. I never even heard of it. And there'll be a point in time very shortly where we'll see a huge shift in how we consume information, how we communicate. And we honestly, I feel like realtors, we now are at the point. Artificial intelligence, of course, has been around for a very long time. And just like the internet, actually, I've had tech friends and tech clients who shared with me years ago, the internet was around for a very long time before it was available to us as consumers or on a business level. It was universities freely sharing information. They did that for a long time. So similarly, the AI has been in place at an institutional level. We know from watching the market last year, like the REITs and the investors and the Blackstones and Wall Street, they were using very high level sophisticated AI analyzing markets. But using it in this kind of interactive robot smart way, at a consumer level, at an entrepreneurial level, at a business owner level, this is a shift. Now, Google is working on a competitive resource. So one point of caution in using ChatGPT, there's a way. With Windows, there's a way to copy text and copy it as text so that you're not getting the code behind. I haven't figured out how to do that on a Mac, but I'm careful to not bring the code with me, just the words. So, and also to shift it up a little bit to make it human, put your own voice in it. It is written pretty, like it doesn't read like a machine. However, you do want it to be personalized, and there'll come a point where Google's looking for ChatGPT code because they're going to be competitors. There'll probably be other resources that offer it too. So just clean it, scrub it of code and put your own personalizations in it, but it's a really great way to start content. And John, like we're talking about hiring a VA. I was thinking today, a VA could, if you give someone who knows how to use this a list of topics for your blog, they could draft a whole bunch of blog posts, right? And then you could go in and kind of personalize it, edit it, schedule the post, so that you're posting every week and building that SEO, building that value. Those posts are really powerful for SEO ranking for the areas that you want to target, as well as for to generate leads, to bring traffic. And they also are valuable, like we're talking about for newsletters. You want to have things cross-linked, come back to each other. You can have your blog, and Anthony teaches this, like 3 or 4 links in the blog article can come back with the squeeze page, coming back to some other area of your site. You want your people to be interacting in your site. It's like you want to get them in, but then have it be an experience, like the Crystal Chrysler experience, coming through the information and have that feel and flow of who you are, what your voice is. And so it's attracting people, providing information before they ask for it, streamlining process and automating. I haven't gotten to the automation yet, other than, let me show that. He mentioned drips and campaigns. So let me just poke into that for a second. but Anthony teaches how to use Typeform, which is how you can create a workflow. Like for instance, he gets so many leads. He gets 500 leads a month for rentals, but he has them go through this workflow that he's created, and it's personalized and it's helpful. And so by the time they're ready to go out and look at properties, they're qualified, they have everything they need, and he's out showing renters who are just ready to execute on a lease. These are all campaigns, so we can edit any campaign. You can turn them on, turn them off. You can create templates and text campaigns. This is completely flexible and, an option. So it just take a little, you could have, like he was talking about, you could have Chatty write campaigns for you, but the idea is, this is where I'm just going to throw a flag out there and say, I'm calling it, like, this is a point in time of a major shift in how we interact, how we consume information, and how businesses should be delivering information. Okay, well, that's what it is. I'm going to continue to share information, and I just think we have to, oh, yeah. So I showed you, I'll send you the link for Anthony's training, and I think I can share his discount. He offers 20% off. It's only $25 a month, so like, give up a trip to Starbucks and you've got all this training that costs thousands normally. Like kvCore charges $250 an hour for one-on-one training and coaching. And Anthony, he doesn't work for kvCore. He's an agent, but he comes from a tech background. And gratefully, when he joined EXP, he saw what people like you and I've gone through, John. Yeah. He saw this need. And he, like you said, he's hearing not only other people who are stuck in that $200 a month, he hears stories like mine, and it breaks his heart. So he truly exemplifies that culture of contribution. And the 8:30 morning calls I was on for a while, but I just can't always make that. So I like the recordings because I can do that. I can do 20 minutes of it and then come back to it later. I don't have to, schedules are very challenging. So I do highly recommend that. And I'll share the links with everybody. And it's great to see you. Any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, Susanna, I actually had a question. So with SEO, like, I think one of the things that you do very well that I don't even dive into, only because it's just not something I'm focused on at the moment, is with blogs. So, I mean, automating blogs to a certain extent with ChatGPT is great because obviously you can even streamline that, as you mentioned, to have a VA, put that in for you and create content. And I think that's great. How does that work with SEO? Like, are you putting keywords in these blogs so that they formulate or populate in like Google searches, or like, how does that work?
Exactly. So using the ChatGPT, I research keywords and I look for content that people are looking for. And I used to kind of do that in a generic way with Google, but ChatGPT is not just looking at the past, or this forward looking, and then it creates the content, right? So it's much more dynamic. And then take Anthony's class on blogging, because I thought I was fairly good at blogging, but I just learned some things. So I'm going to redo some things the way I'm doing them on blogging. And he's getting you get massive ranking. Do it, and in 3 months, you'll see organic ranking. Now, when somebody and of course, it depends on the question they ask. But to your point, John, like, I did a simple blog on, Bluebell. I'm like really interested in supporting your efforts there. And, we know we had that one, buyer in Bluebell, but so I used ChatGPT to research a little bit about Bluebell parks or living in Bluebell, right? Because I was building out that guide.
Right.
And I did a simple little blog post. I'm trying to find it. about parks in Bluebell. And it started getting seen right away.
Oh, wow. You can even see who's viewing it. Or how
There's 80 views.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know,
And
yeah,
that's all organic, right? Like you
yeah.
you just put it. Okay.
Now, one of the things I learned from Anthony, I'm visual, so I was putting a picture first. He said, I just learned this today. You put some text that Google's looking for
Right.
to start, because that's how Google reads your site, indexes your site. And so then what are the top 4 Bluebell parks? And then I linked to my Bluebell Living, the guide page.
Right.
I used the same video I had made for that. You know, it's just really simple. You could have a VA do the text and then add your photo later, you know, before you publish it.
Right.
And it's pretty easy I have the photo linked to the guide. You can do that, or you can do squeeze pages, right? And so
So when you do these blogs, Susanna, when you do
mhm.
these blogs, are you leading them to a squeeze page, or are you just leading them to your blog without like any interruption?
No, I like to have it focused. So, and this is the SEO looks for that. They look for people who are creating content and the content is meaningful. So the
Okay.
links need to be meaningful.
Right.
You know, so here I provide a guide to buying a home, buyer's consultation, some home buying tips. I'm learning and learning and learning, but see, these do go to pages that I have up here, these home buying tips. And those pages can be packed with SEO. I have to, you know, you take one step at a time. I have to go repack these pages with SEO, but these links go to those pages on my site, buy versus rent. And these are content from my lender, my preferred lender for the most part. Anthony taught us how to embed a mortgage calculator, you know, because everybody wants one of those. So I have that there. This is another blog post that I wrote about radon. And so I have that as a bullet point in another blog post. You know how if you read an article and it'll say read more, and it links to another one of their articles. So you can have your content cross-populate. Most writers, Forbes, all of them, when you read an article, it'll say read more, and it'll link to another one of their articles. So you can do that, but then also have, I try to have everything linked. I like to see something like, I want valuable information. So I have key points linked. I don't like flat 2-dimensional information. I want everything to be 3-dimensional. So, because that's how I use the internet. I like to have things actually provide value, right? Sometimes to a squeeze page, like, let's see if I forget which I tied this to. And sometimes to outside pages like the restaurant link or something like that. I'm not sure why it's not working. But I don't like to embed YouTube videos because it'll take them somewhere else. But here, this is a coffee company in Wayne, and I linked it right to the coffee company. You know, it should be meaningful where it links. And this is about Wayne, and this should go to a squeeze page. I'm not sure why it's working. It's a good point why you have to double check everything. Make sure it's working. But that's the idea. I have to double check that. Why it's not working, I don't know. And with the schools is something different. I've been using niche.com for real information about schools. You know, you got to answer people's questions before they ask, right? Like, oh, I can find anything they need to know about Wayne's schools right there. It's not my opinion. They get to do their own research, right? So those kinds of things for SEO, but like I have to redo this, like this text should be above the video because Google will read the site. And so Google is going to be looking for flow of information. Google is going to be looking for, how that's smart. It's not just, they used to do back in the day keywords hacks, but you really can't do that anymore. Oh, I also wanted to share, I'm going to share with you, you see how all these videos I do, like I changed this to have a cat intro, just make it a little more interesting. I do that in wave video. So if you're interested in that, and I'll show you why I like wave video. I don't have it. Because like I said, YouTube it's going to take them somewhere else, right? That's not where I want to go. My projects. So for all my guys, I want to show you how easy it is. With my subscription, it's I think $190 a year, but you can embed up to 100 videos. So all these are embedded on my site. And for like that Wayne video here, it shows you can change how it plays. Like I chose this color from the EXP guide. I like this blue, but you can change the color for you can have it be a big play button, small play button. I've chose to have it autoplay on mute. I want it to be interesting. And then it ends on the thumbnail, or you could have it loop. But the key thing is it's a embed, and then you just copy this code into the HTML. And it will resize, it adjusts to your phone. It's responsive here instead of a fixed size. And yeah, it took me a little minute to get as good as I am with it now, but it's still pretty intuitive. And there's all this stock like B-roll. I mean, what you can do is amazing. Like you can resize them to make a reel or to make a, something like that. This was a little ditty I say. So if I wanted to edit this, I'll just show you the stock video. I was trying to do a little shopping snippet to add to my Rittenhouse. The stock library is just amazing. No matter what story you want to tell, like I might say woman with laptop. You have all these clips that you have. Or I paid $300 for an hour worth of a videographer to do B-roll for me. But if you're trying to tell a story, sometimes it's really clearly New York or something, but like foot traffic, city scene is what I typed in, and find different things to just be creative, make something interesting without having to hire somebody to go out and do B-roll. Like this tells a story, like you want to talk about Rittenhouse or whatever. So wave video has been one of my secret weapons I've used the heck out of. As you can tell, I use a lot of video on my site, but it's very inexpensive. For less than 1 month with Dana, you have a year of video, right? So I'll send you guys these links. This is the clip, ChatGPT, Anthony's, the image from, I was going to talk about Gary Keller's comments, which are way off. But anyway, somebody today just told me about this channel. I haven't checked it out too much, but he was talking about AI. But here's the wave video and then these YouTube playlists. So I'll send that to you guys. Okay. Well, is there after party after we close down? Or